Thanks for clicking on this video. Now, this is the first video in a series of videos where we're going to create kind of like the opening 20-30 minutes of just a standard adventure game. The main inspiration for this tutorial is the opening minutes of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So if you wanted to go see kind of like where we're headed with this, just go YouTube some gameplay footage of the opening. Okay, so this video series assumes that you have a little bit of Unreal Engine knowledge already. We are focusing more on game design with this tutorial, and it just happens that our engine of choice is Unreal Engine. This means we are going to be looking at creating like tutorial levels with context-sensitive prompts, rewarding the player with successfully completing a small task. We're going to be setting up a quest system to have this gated style of gameplay where the player needs to complete a couple of tasks in order to unlock the next area or section. So in our case, we're going to have an NPC who's going to provide 2 tasks for the player to complete. On completing these 2 tasks, it will reveal a dungeon. And then, of course, using all of this new game knowledge of creating context-sensitive prompts, gameplay loops, and player feedbacks, it will be up to you to design the final dungeon, to use all of the abilities that the player has and create a interesting dungeon for the player to escape. So thanks so much for watching and enjoy. Thanks everybody for clicking on the video. So today, we got both Mike and I. Say hi, Mike.
Hello.
And we are going to give you guys a quick tour of the game animation sample project. We will, from this moment on, probably refer to it as GASP. Don't be confused between GASP and the other acronym often used in Unreal Engine, which is GAS. So we're just going to be looking at the game animation sample, and we're going to be building a project out of this game animation sample going forward. But just in this video, it's just a quick introduction to everybody. So here we go. So first, well, what is GASP and where do I get it? Well, all right. So the first thing that you guys will want to do, and this may come to no surprise to most of you, is we need to first go get the game animation sample project, which of course we get from Fab. So going into Fab here. Now just a quick heads up, while you're here, you can always go check what's limited time free for this moment and go ahead and grab that. But we are here for the game animation sample. And by searching game animation sample here in the top, we will quickly find the game animation sample by Epic Games, and it's 100% free. If for whatever reason it suddenly starts charging or asking for money, you've taken the wrong direction. Don't go that way. And watch out for lookalikes here. So like, for example, we've got a game animation sample animations project over here, which is also free, but notice it's from King Boars. Okay. This might be a fine project and something you can totally explore on your own time, but for our purposes, we're sticking with official release content here. So take note of the release by Epic Games. So if I click on it, you should always be checking these kind of things. Check for compatibility, right? So click on it, we get the main store page. We can see it's still by Epic Games. It's free. You get an add to my library button, which I've already got it added to my library, but I'm not logged in. Right? So if I was logged in, it would just say you already got this. So you should be able to scroll down and you'll see compatibility between 5.4 and 5.7. This is a fairly new add-on to Unreal Engine, so I would totally expect this to be compatible with every new version that comes out. So when 5.8 comes out in a few months from now, from the time we record this video, this should instantly be compatible with that. Especially considering there isn't too much in here currently that would be locked out from a version update, because it's just animation based with some physics. Okay. So add to your library, and then once you'll have to be logged in to your Epic's account, add this to your library, And once you've added it to your library, then you need to open up Epic. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Epic client, which you guys are seeing here, and I'll go over to Unreal Engine, the library. And if you go look in your Fab library, you should be able to search for the game animation sample and create a new project. By creating a new project, you'll get this screen here. Name it appropriate. Put your name on it, for example, is really helpful for us. Make sure you keep track of the folder you're putting it in. Personally, I leave my stuff just by default directory. And then select your version. And we want to go with the newest possible version. Create. And when you do that, I'm not going to create this because I already have mine created. Once you're done creating it, you'll see it will pop up. You'll have it here. I'm sorry, it's this one here. This gas demo project that I created will be up and ready to go. Yeah. And with that, Mike has got one open for us already. Mike, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
So, we got first thing when you open up, you'll be in their test demo level. So we're going to take a quick look at what you can do here. They got some fancy blueprints all set up for us. Starting off at the back here, we'll look at the ability to change the style of your level.
Dark mode, nice. Thank goodness for dark mode.
Yeah. And then up here, next we have the typical README. We'll go, it's appearing off screen. 1 second, right? So this will give you a bit of a README on the animation starter pack itself. Next up, we have the control viewer, right? So we can see that we've got WASD to move, mouse for camera, left control to walk, so slow us down, and left shift to sprint. Then we have C for crouching, and then technically we also have sliding with the new motion matching.
The sliding is the newest feature of this pack and is really fun, especially if you guys have been playing any modern action games lately. It's almost a necessary ability now, like right beside jump, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then we have our jump/traversal, which is set up based off the blueprints, which you'll see out there. Is we have some traversal blocks that we'll be looking at when we get into the level design side of things. Then we have toggle rotation mode, which is your mouse wheel, right? And then we have aim, which is the right mouse button, which gives us a little bit of an aim like that. All right, be better once I get rid of the thing there. Then we have change camera scroll, also is the mouse wheel, and then J for teleport. Then you also have controllers over here if you're using a controller.
For our purposes, we are using and want everyone else to use a mouse and keyboard. Walk on top of the game animation widget, and then your pawn override change to the newest one.
Yeah.
And then
you click on the new one.
Yep. And then if as far as the visual override, you're welcome to choose whichever one you like to use. Fine.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Just to make sure that everyone understood how to make that change, because it's going to be necessary for our project. Okay, Mike, what's first?
Yeah.
But why is this pack cool, and why do we want to use it?
So while holding my left shift, right, I can hit the C button, which is the crouch button, and I can slide. Right. Already set up, ready to go for us right out of the box. Then we have running up to this wall, right? If I tap the space bar, which is our jump button, he'll traverse over the wall.
Yep, which we would call that a vault. So we'll be calling that a vault going forward.
Yeah. Okay, so vault, and then we also have the ability to climb up as well.
Does he climb up automatically, or do you have to press a button?
You have to hit space bar, right? It's not context sensitive.
Yeah. So it's important. It's important for everybody to recognize that there's button presses for some of these actions, because some of them happen automatically and some of them require button press. Because
the traversal is when you're holding down spacebar.
But we're going to want everybody to create tutorial prompts for all of these movements to teach the player how to do these things.
I'm just holding down spacebar.
Pretty cool though, and it's a lot of fun. It
Yeah,
gives like
obviously.
an out of the box AAA character feel almost.
As you can see here, they got a little bit of the tutorial of what we would kind of expect, but a little more interactive. But we got a nice press to hold, so that you're, so if I'm holding space, see, he grabs the ledge.
And you'll notice the way Mike is doing this obstacle course, at the end of every run that he does, there's buttons on the floor that allow him to,
Except for there. Let's
that
see
allow
here.
him to travel back and forth. So now what Michael's doing is he's pressing the J
J.
button to try to teleport around.
There we go. Try this one more time.
So what we want everybody to do from here is experiment with this obstacle course. Try to complete it first. Yeah, so it's important to play with and make these mistakes with your characters and experiment, because you're going to be required to build a level out of all of the abilities this character has. And you need to understand like the upper limitations of a character. So this last jump we know is doable, right? Because, well, they wouldn't put it there otherwise.
Yeah, it is.
But it also just shows that
there we go.
it also just shows that you want to find where those upper limits are of your character's abilities so that you can properly set up the necessary obstacles and levels for your player to go through, so that you can show a new player, here's what your character can do, here's the upper limits of their ability, all in a tutorial-like fashion, like with very little punishment. Yeah,
then
so
the
let's
last
show
one
them
here.
the newest feature, which is super fun.
Slide.
Yep.
There we go.
And then there's a like a hilly spot off to the side for you to goof around with some more sliding and stuff.
It's a high platform. Oh.
Yeah, as for the falling, because I believe,
Yeah, they get some nice animations.
yeah.
Now, being in the new motion match, we do have the option. They do have over here, with the targeting. I'd have. See here, we can.
click.
Yeah, and then you guys can see. Let me zoom out a little. He's holding down our right click. Well, he's now focused, right? His eyes are always traveling there.
Yeah.
Regardless of which way I move. Which is a cool thing.
Yep. And just one more thing that we'll expect you guys to apply to a tutorial. You'll have to teach a player how to do that by using context-sensitive prompts. So here's how we want you guys to set up and start your new project.
There.
Mike.
So we're gonna first obviously create ourselves a new folder. It's always good to be organized, right? And I'm just gonna do 00 adventure or game. We'll just say, right, 00 game, right? Then I can create myself a new folder called map. Maps, and then we're just going to do a file new level, basic level to start us off.
Yeah, so the basic level will start us with like all of the lighting and things that we need, but keep the terrain very minimalistic.
Yeah, so we're going to save here. Now we want to make sure we save in our map folder, right? So this will be
Tutorial
level. Starter level. Alright. So now that I've got that saved in there, first up, we do want to actually go to the project settings. So you go to edit,
Sounds
project
good.
settings,
Why are we going to project settings?
because we want to do the maps and modes and set our new level to start when we start up.
Yeah, so when we start our project next time, by setting up in the maps and modes, in the project settings, that'll be the level that loads up. Should be great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
While we're here, for anyone that needs to, this is where you could search for frame rate as well.
You could also reduce like lumens and shadows and stuff if you want to get a little bit more improved performance out of your
There we go.
project. Depending on your PC, this may or may not matter to you.
Yeah. Over here on the speed dial, you have your scalability.
Yep. So all of that will help you if you need to get a little bit more performance out of your computer. Okay, and then once we have our new level here, we need to bring in a character.
Yeah. Actually, we have to set the game mode.
We have to set the
So-
game mode.
We can do the full game mode back here. That way you don't need to do it per level. So if we go back to in project settings, maps and modes, we go here. You are looking for the sandbox.
Game mode sandbox. So GM_sandbox. Set that as your default game mode.
There we
We'll bring in your motion character.
Yeah.
And then now to gain access to, how do we get all those assets, Mike, to be able to like vault over them and stuff?
So that'd be in our content browser, right? So control space, and I'm going to actually dock mine because that way I actually have access to it all the time, right? So then we can also be over here where we create all our stuff, and then we can also be in the level prototype section. This is where you're going to find they have the different ones. So you have the level block itself. This is just a block that gets in our way, right? So you can see I run up to it, I hit space, doesn't jump on it.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like a default basic block. It doesn't offer any animation support at all.
No, but you can technically add in like, some handy dandy hints, right? So like press, space to jump, right? There we go. Something along those lines, right?
So in the details panel on the right-hand side with the block selected, there's a section
Yeah.
under default called name, and then you can write stuff on the box, which will be perfect way for you to like do some placeholder tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
But for the assignment, for the project, we're going to want you guys to do something a little bit more interactive.
For the traversable block, we've got the level traversable block blueprint here. You drag this in and you use the scale tool. So WER, right? So R, and then we go there. Then you can see as I slowly but slowly scale this up, right? It starts to, you get to see the height going up and that. And then if I hit play and hold my space bar, all right, we can traverse up and down there. Let's see here.
Yeah, so you'll want to play with these blocks to see what like the upper maximum level is that the character can climb up onto, so that you can design your tutorial level accordingly. Because you'll want to make sure it's A, the level is traversable, but B, it has to be educational. We want to teach the player where they can climb up and where they can't climb up.
Let's see here. 3 meters is roughly looking like the max that they get for here.
Yep. Now, what if they want to make a slide, Mike?
We go to modeling. I could just do a box.
You can do a wedge shaped.
Yeah. Well, worst case scenario, I just do something like this. Hit accept. We go to modeling, poly editing, and then we do something like. I want to make sure I grab the face. So pull this guy back. Up. There we go. Let me move this guy down.
Just to make yourself a wedge.
You could technically get like, with a spline mesh, you could really make something fun. But should have made it thicker.
They made it
Oh.
with collision.
Well, that's simple as going in here. Oh, double clicking on the static mesh.
Yep.
Go to collisions.
There.
Scroll down. We'll say use complex as simple.
You have to move and then slide. I think you have to sprint, don't you?
There we go.
For your assignment, the first part of the project is going to be to create a tutorial level. So basically, imagine that the game is literally just started. Whatever opening sequence or story thing elements you may have, they've already taken place. And now the player is finally starting to play your game. So imagine that they are at a point 0. There's only one direction for them to travel. There's only one direction for them to travel, and you want to guide them through the level, demonstrating absolutely everything about the controls of your game. But don't take for granted that they already know AWSD. Okay, so you need to start with explaining AWSD for movement, and then show them how to climb up on different blocks, and how to jump gaps, how to use the crouch, and how to use the crouch slide. So this is important because there's level design and then there's level decorating, and a lot of people seem to get that really confused. They think just adding stuff to the world means you're level designing, but we very much want to make the point here where we are not concerned whatsoever necessarily with how the level looks. I mean, flow will be important, but what we really want you guys to show us here is your ability to teach a player how to play. So you can see here, Mike is already setting up with his block, the level block's a dead end, right? So he's going to put his player start at the beginning of this, and then he's setting up like the first little vaulting obstacle here. Right? So you can see here, he's made it impossible for the player to do anything other than vaulting these first few blocks. Right? And it looks like he's going to try to set up the slide. You may want to start you're free to make your levels how you want to make them. I think probably should have started the first part elevated so that you could do a slide down, but it looks like Mike's going to make do with what he's got. Spent his lit. There you go. That's a nice. Yeah, that works.
There we
go. Actually, what Mike is setting up here, he's doing a lot of heavy lifting for the tutorial of it already right out of the gate, because first we'll have to explain to the player that AWSD is moving, the mouse is the camera control, and space is jump. But then he's already going to show the player how to vault the 1 meter wall, then to climb the 3 meter wall, which will instantly lead to, say, the slide down. Let's go ahead and I'll let Michael finish this up.
Yeah, so we got the slide, and then you'd eventually make your area out here for where we will eventually have the NPC to introduce gimmicks. But if I hit play, right, so here would be a good point, or even have it, when you spawn in, something pop up already, right, saying, hey, use WASD,
yep,
get moving, shift to sprint. You can technically hold control to walk as well.
We could have a collision here before the 1 meter block that maybe even pauses the game to show a little on-screen menu eventually that says, hey, press the space bar while moving to vault this wall.
Yeah. And then you have to shift.
Slide down. Cool. Now, this is a great way to start, Mike, because this already demonstrated a problem, right? So this ramp slide is where we want to show the player to slide down the ramp, right? But Mike could have ran down that ramp. There was absolutely nothing forcing him to go into a slide. And we want to build this tutorial kind of gated, right? We want to kind of like force the player to succeed in the maneuver before they can move on. So this is where your design skills are going to come into play. How could we force a player to slide down this hill, short of like just making them fail if they don't do it? We could just put an object there the player has to slide under. Right? So like what I would probably do is grab a cylinder of some kind.
Actually, let me just... Actually, I could use the regular block. What am I doing?
Yeah, so use a regular block then. And just make it long. And then put it... So this is going to require some playtesting from you guys. Right? Figure out what height you want to put that block at, forcing the player to have to slide under it. And see, Mike can't walk underneath, but he can crouch underneath. So I might even argue here that it might be wise to first show the player how to crouch and then show them how to slide. We should, but this is a great example of what you guys should be doing. So like now that I've just pointed out, for instance, showing the player how to crouch first, we could just extend this starting area and do a demonstration of crouch first, which Mike is doing now. Perfect.
I can even... Some more?
Yeah, you're running out of level fast, but it's okay. If you run out of level, you guys can just do like a right-hand turn. It doesn't have to be full linear. You can do a right-hand turn and use the space you have.
Yeah.
You can also just extend the level terrain if you... Well, it's not technically terrain, but you can extend the level up. And then another design thing you can do if you want is you can create a trap. You could lead the player to a spot where they might otherwise think they're stuck, and then show them that, like, no, you're not stuck. You can get out if you figure out what platforms you can climb onto and things like that. Like a good example would be to have them vault over a wall that would have them fall down a hole. And when they get down to the bottom of the hole, they see a hole in the wall that is too small for them to walk through, but then you can demonstrate crouching. There we go. So Mike has made this extra tall wall where then they learn how to slide underneath. Perfect. And if they tried to like walk down or fail the slide, they wouldn't be able to get underneath. So they'd have to go back and essentially try it again. Perfect. Right, so this is a great example of what we are expecting from you guys with your kind of tutorial levels. We want you to use the GASP game animation sample project, experiment and learn all of the different maneuvers that the player does, and then create a tutorial section with like gated, I don't know if you want to call this necessarily gated gameplay, but it kind of is. There's no progression unless there's success, and that's what we want to see. And make sure that you do all of the things. So the player also has the lock-on ability, so make sure you demonstrate the ability to lock on. So there's a target dummy right here in the level prototyping assets that you can use, so put that somewhere in your tutorial level. Under normal circumstances, it would be advisable to create your tutorial levels at the end of completing a project. That's generally in game design how that would work, because you'd want to make sure that all your systems and mechanics are in place before you teach anybody how to use them. But in this case, we are kind of just treating this game animation sample as our game to demonstrate creating a tutorial level. So in this case, you'll need to experiment with it first, learn all of the different movements and abilities that the character has been given, create a tutorial style obstacle course. And in our next video, Mike and I will show you guys how to create some of that context sensitive prompts and things so that you can communicate with the player. And we ultimately are going to want you guys to create full gameplay loops. A player approaches an obstacle, there'll be a screen prompt that says, hey, if you hold the space bar while you run at this wall with shift key, you will vault it. Okay? And then the player does so, and when they successfully complete the vault, there should be feedback. We want to let the player know that they accomplished the move we asked them to. So that's how gameplay loops work. The game gives the player some input, the player gives the game some input, the game then needs to give the player some more input. So we don't want to just have, like right now Mike is doing great placeholder tutorial stuff, the press space to jump. That's perfect right here as a reminder for yourself when you're developing the level, what you're going to need. But ultimately, when we're finished this, not only when the player finishes jumping this vault, we want to have some kind of feedback on the other side to let the player know, congrats, you did it. All right, well then before you can close a project, you got to save it. So yeah, make sure you save your projects. And if you hadn't saved your level yet when Mike demonstrated it to start with, it will also ask you to save your level. So make sure you name your level accordingly. Make sure you set it up in the project settings as your main level. This will be a multi-level assignment as well, which means there will be some scene loading coming later, and we'll demonstrate how to do that.
Yep.
Any other advice you want to add in here, Mike?
No, not much. Have fun. Enjoy the level design process. Don't stick to just a linear straight line. Try to make it more fun.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so in our example here, we just did like the straight line obstacle, but by all means, give the level some depth. And a great way to test your tutorial levels is find a friend or a family member, come over and sit down, preferably someone who has never played a video game even, and see if they can get through your tutorial level with your as much assistance as possible, and take notes. If they get stuck at a spot, you know that you have a failure in your game loops and communication, and you could try to figure out how to solve that problem. All right, so thanks a lot, everybody. Have fun, and stay tuned for more videos. Say bye, Mike. Bye.
Goodbye, guys.